All right, now you're good to go.
All right, good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Hope everyone enjoyed the weekend. Kicking off I think this is the last week of March, if I'm not mistaken. So looking to end the month out strong. Actually, I'm sorry, next week is the last
Next week.
So
Yep.
we're halfway there. We're halfway there. Um, with that being said, let's dive right into it. The markets have been kind of slow, to be honest. Looking at the overall markets, the SPYs haven't moved much. The Qs haven't moved much. There's a little bit of gapping going on, but for the most part, it's still fairly flat for the most. Actually, the Qs have moved a bit compared to the SPYs. But nonetheless, not a lot of movement happening. That could honestly be a good thing because that means maybe we get a lot of the movement happen during the market hours, right? Last week we were experiencing a lot of gap ups, a lot of gap downs. That was making it very difficult to catch the trend, right, on a lot of the stocks that were attached to the overall markets, right, which could lead to some choppiness. But today, things just seem to simmer down a little bit. And what's interesting is there are a few small cap names that have been moving. One of which has been support.com, SPRT. So SPRT, Alex made the call earlier around like $3 and some change during the pre-market hours, and this thing has just been on a run. Ran all the way up to $9. It's starting to form a bit of a double top here, and it's just been consolidating around this $8 price range. So for SPRT, the news associated with it is that they were merging with Greenridge Generation, targeting power generation, Bitcoin mining. So of course, anytime you see Bitcoin mining attached to something, there's going to be a big pop to it, right? We experienced that last week with a lot of the mining stocks or the NFT stocks, right? So SPRT, looking at the chart setup right now, it is a little extended. It had, closed at $2.14, traded all the way up to $9. So right now, there's a bit of a sell-off starting to happen. If it starts to sell off below 740, which it just did, could look for a short, or it's approaching that, sorry. 740, we could look for a short. There are stops around 840. We'll have to give it about $1, but this could potentially come down to about $6. If it starts to find support here, I would personally like to see it reclaim the pre-market high before I look for a long. So I'd wait for a break at $9, throw my stops at $8, and see where this could go. If I'm looking at the weekly chart, there's really no resistance on SPRT. I think this may even be the all-time highs. Okay, all-time highs are actually $17 back in, man, I can't even tell you what year this is. But there's really no resistance until around $15. $15 and $12 on the weekly chart, dating back probably like 6 years ago or so. So there's a lot of range with SPRT, especially if it could break out for a long. So this is definitely going to be the number one stock that I'll be watching. Another stock I'll be watching is RLX. RLX sold off. We weren't sure what the news was, but it looks like it has to do something with some Chinese regulation going on, e-cigarette regulation. And that's the reason RLX has got this pretty heavy gap down. Closed Friday at $19.46. Traded down to $11.39. And now we seem to catch some support, right? Traded down to $11.39. Trading now close to $13. So the way I see it, if RLX starts to break that low day again, starts to challenge it, we could definitely look for a short. We may have to give it some room depending on where RLX is as the market opens. But I would personally give it to about the high of day once the candlestick opens to look for a short. However, if RLX starts to recover, we can break back above 1360, 1370. We can look for a long and throw our stops around $13. So keep a very close eye on this. The volume is really good on it. The float, I believe, is very small. Let me just double check that really quick. Short interest, RLX. And this thing has a lot of room to move. Whether, I'm not saying it's going to gap fill, but maybe we get it moved back up to $15, $16. The short flow is, okay, there are a few shares traded. It's 1.42 billion. But nonetheless, it's a very cheap stock. So you'll see the stock do probably 1 million shares per candlestick once it opens. So that's the idea coming in with RLX. Another name I'll be keeping an eye on is the EV sector. One of which is going to be XPEV. There's a report that came out, I think it was with more so NIO, that the company announced a deal for electric vehicle battery swap stations to be built in Beijing. That was specifically for NIO, but obviously it's going to have an overall effect on the EV industry as a whole, right? Once you start seeing more progression towards electric vehicles, a lot of the names are going to feel the effects of that, right? So with XPEV, I really like the setup on the daily chart. If you're looking at the daily, it's been trending nicely off the 8 of May. And we recently just crossed the 20 of May. So now this is a change to possible, a more bullish trend than the sell-off we were experiencing about a month ago, right? So with XPEV, we closed right at the highs on Friday at 37.48. We're gapping up to about $38, about 50 cents. We were up at 38.55 a little earlier in the morning around 5:36 a.m. And it is starting to sell off a bit, but I do like XPEV to the long side. The way I see it, if XPEV starts to trade back above 38.40, 38.50, we can look for our longs, throw our stops around $38. And the great thing about XPEV is there's a lot of room to the upside. There's really no resistance until around $39. And after that, I mean, the upper Bollinger Band is the next, resistance area that I can see around $40.70. So XPEV is definitely going to be a name I'm going to be watching closely, along with NIO. Now, NIO was a stock that had the news directly correlated to it with the EV charging stations. So, of course, NIO's getting a nice gap up. Closed Friday at 43.35. We gapped up a full dollar. And what's nice about NIO is NIO has been flagging here over the past, say, about 2 weeks now. The resistance is up here at 46.29. The support is down at Friday's low, around $40.50. So NIO is stuck in a range. Perhaps today could be the catalyst that takes it above that $46 price level, and we start getting a similar setup to how we see on XPEV on the daily chart. So for NIO, the way I see it, if it starts to break out above 44.75, definitely look for a long. We could throw our stops around 44.20 if you want to be a little more conservative, 44.50, and see if we can get some momentum to the upside. NIO is probably going to be the number one stock I'll be watching this morning, just because it has some really nice news associated with it, and the daily setup for it is shaping out very, very nicely. I'll go over 2 other names, and I'll let Alex take over the rest afterwards. One of which is going to be Facebook. So what I really like about Facebook, there was no real news associated with it, but I really like the daily setup, especially if the market starts to catch some support. I really, really like Facebook for a potential breakout here. If you're looking at the daily chart, Facebook has been stuck under about 290 for ever since about November, September. It hasn't been able to break out above 290. We're finally starting to get that, right? On Facebook, there's really no resistance until around 297, 298. So looking at the chart, looking at Friday's price action, we had a really nice closed above right at that 290 level. Today we're gapping up about $1.50, and Facebook actually just had a nice volume spike here. There may be some news coming out about that. But nonetheless, if Facebook starts to trade, it's breaking out of a flag right now, so we'll have to be a little patient. But essentially, if Facebook starts to break out above 292, we can look for a long, throw our stops around 291, and let's see if we can catch this thing right out of the gates. Facebook has been very nice in the open over the past couple days. If you're looking at the 5-minute chart, there's been nice surges, clean surges happening out of the gate, especially if the market comes in strong. So definitely keep a very close eye on Facebook, because this has the potential to have a big day if it can break out of this level and hold it. And the last name I'll be going over is Apple. So the funny thing about Apple is, I talked about Facebook potentially having a long if the market looks strong out of the gates. Apple, I see it's just the opposite. If the market is weak, I would look at Apple for a potential short. The reason is because Apple looks very weak on the daily. We are gapping up a little less than $1 on Apple because the market's obviously gapping up. But overall, Apple still looks weak. It's still trading below its 20 MA. It's still trading below its 8 MA on the daily chart. And we had some topping tail action form on the close of Friday on the daily chart. So what that tells me is that Apple still is weak. It's not gapping up as strongly as some of the other names. And if Apple can start to trade back below, let's say around 120.60, potentially look for a short and put our stops around 120.90, 120.80. However, like I said, in order to take a short on Apple, I would like to see some weakness in the market, especially early on. But nonetheless, if the market looks weak, Apple's going to be the #1 stock that I'm going to be looking at. So for me, that's going to pretty much summarize my A-list. So to just go over it again, SPRT, NIO, XPEV, RLX, Apple if the market's weak, and then Facebook if the market's strong. So definitely, keep an eye on those. I believe all of the names that I've listed, RLX and SPRT, they all trade options contracts, so you don't have to worry about that, right? Whether trade the shares or options. So make your own list, and just keep an eye on some of those names. With that being said, Alex, I'll be my man.
All right, bro. So just a couple names to add there. I like all the names that that Taj mentioned. But just to add a couple, HOFV is one that I'm going to keep on watch here. It's bear flagging at the moment. So if it breaks below, 390, 385, you can go in for a short and put your stops at $4. You're risking 15 cents for a possible breakdown for further downside. Pull up a 3-day chart or a 5-day chart. You can see that the breakout on HOFV kind of occurred at the $2.08 range. So my first target, if it does break down, is the 360. If it fails that, 320, then 280. So that's what I'm looking at for this small cap. Another one is going to be Bank of America. We have the 10-year yield pulling back a little bit. The banks have gone on a really nice run. If you pull up the daily chart, look at Bank of America, look at all the other banks like JP Morgan Chase. So I really like. Oh, what happened? My microphone sounds muffled.
No, you sound fine to me.
Oh, okay. So with Bank of America, we could see a pullback, especially with the 10-year yield currently at the moment. Where's the 10-year yield at? Let me take a look somewhere else. TNX is trading at 1.688, so we're getting a pullback from the 1.74 we had the other day. So with that being said, Bank of America, if I see a break below like the 38 range, I'm gonna go in for the short, and I'll put my stops to like 38.15. Another trade where you only risk 15 cents, right, per share. So small risk if you ask me. Another one is gonna be Tesla. The reason why I like Tesla is because Kathy Woods came out and gave it a $3,000 price target, and Tesla, of course, is gapping up. Even though it's gapping up, this is not a real significant gap up on Tesla. I mean, if the market was stronger, you would see Tesla at like $700 in pre-market. So it is a little interesting just to kind of see how maybe the market will play out today. Obviously, we have the NASDAQ gapping up and the S&P slightly gapping up and the Russell 2000 slightly gapping up as well. So let's just keep a close eye on if any weakness comes into the market. But Tesla is flagging. So if Tesla breaks out of 683, 684, go in for a long. You can buy 685. You can maybe buy 690 calls and enjoy that ride up. But if Tesla does break below 678, go in for the short and make that quick money on it. With Tesla, you gotta be quick on the trigger. and don't size up too much, because if you take too much size and this thing goes against you, you're gonna get a check in the gut. So just be careful, guys, with this one. One other name that I really want to keep a close eye on today is going to be Roku. Roku is trading with extremely low volume in pre-market, but I want to see how it plays out today, especially if it does like a pullback, maybe presents an opportunity for a reversal for an entry point. And the reason why is because Roku got a nice analyst report from Needham, and Roku on the daily has been beaten down. So let me pull up the daily here. You can see that the daily AMA is at 356, so it's trading below that, and the 20 is at 369.81. So if it does catch a bid and buyers do come in and buy up Roku today, I think Roku could rally very easily to 360, 370, easily. It is an expensive name. The contracts are very spready. I've traded Roku with contracts before, very, very spready. So if you do trade Roku, I highly suggest you do it with equity, but you know, just keep an eye on the contracts in case if they're too spready. There is no setup that I like for it at the moment. Like I said, I've got to see volume kick in and kind of see where it goes before I can make a call on it, but I am going to keep a close eye on it. Other than that, another stock that I'm going to keep a very close eye on is Pinterest and Snap. They both got downgrades from Bank of America today, and Bank of America is a big influence in the market. So if we do see some weakness come in on Pinterest or Snap, let's be ready and have our fingers on the trigger for it. So with Pinterest, if it breaks out of like 73 bucks, you could probably go long, put your stops at maybe 72. But if it starts to break below like 71.60, you can go in for a short on Pinterest. With Snap, here, I had some resistance zones. Let me clean up my chart. So with Snap, if it breaks out at 58, you can go long, put your stops at 57.50, so you're risking 50 cents. But if you see this start to break like, I would say like 57.20, 57.30, my first target on Snap would be that pre-market low of 56.80, and then if it breaks below that, then it's snapping. So with that being said, guys, those are the additional names I'm going to add to the ones that Taj already mentioned. But my A list is going to be NIO, SPRT, XPEV, Bank of America, Tesla, and Roku. That's going to be my A list. Every other name that we've mentioned is going to be on my B list for today. So, Taj, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, man. And then obviously just keep an eye on the overall market as well. You know, when taking a lot of these trades, like I said, the Qs are gapping up a bit. SPYs are gapping up smallly, but you know, today is not. You know, I'm not seeing any plays that are like, this is the one we have to trade, right? Last week, there were a lot of NFT names that were very easy to trade, very fast money. Today, I think we're going to have to be a little bit more patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait for these setups. So with that being said, you know, as we always say, just try to go for base hits. You know, don't try to throw the kitchen sink at anything or become a millionaire right out of the gates. Let's keep it small and let the base hits add up. And if today ends up being a home run, then by all means we'll take it. Right? But let's keep it small as we always do.
Yeah, and also speaking of the NFT names, keep a close eye on them, because if they start to wake up later on, then you know, that's something that we can also play as well. TKAT is, I mean, extremely low volume. It's gapping down a little bit, so there's nothing really here, but just keep a close eye on it. Keep it on your peripherals, you know, like, you know, throw it on a chart on the side, and let's check up on this name once in a while, just in case if it decides to wake up and volume kicks in. But with that being said, guys, for everyone on YouTube, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you all later once we do the daily recap of the top 2 trades of the day. Peace.